Thank you, sir. Nayan sir is very fit and fine. Thank you, Sandhya ma'am, Vinod Mohan sir, and Tiwari sir. So I welcome you all to the first technical session of this seminar, and the sub themes of this session are need for strengthening India's cyber security in contemporary world. This is the first theme over which the discourse shall be centered. And the second sub-theme of the seminar that shall be covered in this technical session is cyber security and data privacy, emerging issues and challenges. So our stage is well decorated with the dignitaries. Now I should introduce the resource persons of this technical session and the chairman of the session. I need Justice B.N. Sri Krishna sir is chairing this session of the seminar, and I think we know about him too much right now, but I must make a brief introduction of him for those who joined this time and were absent previously in the inaugural session. Justice B.N. Sri Krishna is an eminent jurist who has been closely associated with many issues of national importance involving legal ramifications in addition to having served as the judge of the Bombay High Court and the Supreme Court of India. Currently, Justice Sri Krishna is the Vice President of Bharati Vidya Bhavan and also the trustee of the India International Center. As is the tradition, I would invite Professor Sudhir Kumar Srivastava sir. Professor Sudhir Kumar Srivastava sir to greet Justice B.N. Sri Krishna sir as the chairman of this technical session with a bouquet. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. The next resource person among us for this technical session is Dr. Kumar Askan Pandey, Associate Professor in Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia National University, Lucknow. He is the professor of law. Before his association with Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia National University, he served as an assistant professor at WBNUJS Kolkata and has around 20 years of teaching experience. He is the director of RML NLU UNICEF project on child protection in Uttar Pradesh. He is also the chairperson of Legal Aid Committee. In 2015 and 16, he was invited by the Department of Women and Child Development, Government of Uttar Pradesh, to conduct the first ever social audit and rapid assessment of the child care institutions in the state of Uttar Pradesh and submitted two reports thereof. Dr. Pandey is a prolific writer and has authored revised 5 textbooks on criminal law, law of evidence, and juvenile justice, published by the leading Indian publishing houses EBC and CLP. Dr. Pandey is truly an eminent academician, and his address to this gathering today will impart a new shade to the topic of this seminar. Sir, I welcome you to this first technical session of the seminar on behalf of my college. And now I would request Professor Rajat Kumar, sir, of Department of Chemistry to come and greet K. Pandey, sir, with a bouquet. Professor Rajat Kumar, sir. Yes, sir. Probably Rajat sir must be busy in his proctoral assignments. So I request Sandhya ma'am to greet sir. Thank you, Sandhya ma'am. Now I request Dr. Divakar Patel to be here to present memento of the seminar to Dr. K. A. Pandey sir. हाँ, ठीक. Thank you, Dr. Divakar. The next resource person who shall be enlightening the session is Dr. Ashok Pandit Rao Wadje, Registrar and Associate Professor of Law, Maharashtra National Law University, Aurangabad. He shall be delivering his season talk on the topic. Dr. Ashok Pandit Rao Wadje is the Associate Professor of Law in Maharashtra National Law University. He is also the Registrar in charge of the university. He specializes in cyber crimes and is represented in the Bureau of Police Research Development, Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India as the subject expert faculty. He has served as the faculty of law in National Law University, Jodhpur also, where he discharged additional duties as a university proctor and the controller of examinations. He is a consulting invitee to the National Commission for Women, New Delhi. Dr. Wadje has truly a very impressive profile, not only as an expert in his field of specialization, but also as the able administrator. Your talk will definitely enlighten the audience on the theme of the session. Sir, I cordially welcome you to this significant session of the seminar on behalf of my college. Now, I would request Professor Dr. Vijay Pratap Singh, sir, from Department of Political Science, to come over here and greet Dr. Wadje, sir, with a bouquet. And I would request Dr. Pushkar Pandey, sir, to be ready for presentation of the memento. Thank you, Vijay sir. Now I request Dr. Pushkar Pandey sir to come over here and present the memento of the seminar to Dr. Wadje sir. Thank you, Pandey sir. Now, since respected Justice sir is the chairperson of this session, I would hand over the conduction of the session to Justice Sri Krishna sir, and he will operate the proceedings. Now, give me pardon. Hello.
Thank you. Friends, the total time allotted for each session appears to be half an hour. And I find that there are 3 papers to be presented here. So I would request that the time share should be maintained at how much? 10 minutes? Not even 10 minutes. 6, 7 minutes each, with 1 or 2 minutes, 5 minutes maximum left over for questions from the participating audience, if any. With your leave, may I call upon Mr. Avinash Pandey on this topic of. Now, how do you are the persons who are going to present the paper? Huh? After you, that's right. Okay, then. Okay, that means, okay, these 5 minutes each is meant for them. Okay, 15 minutes. Okay, now therefore, there are, yeah. Yes. That's why I was deciding it. So the methodology will be that speakers will address each for 8 minutes each, and then There will be 3 papers presenters who will highlight the topic of the present for 5 minutes each, and that should take us to 30 minutes. And if any time is left over, we will give it to the audience for questions. Now, may I request Dr. Pandey to make his presentation. Dr. Pandey, your time starts now.
I'm here to speak in a session which is chaired by none other than Honorable Mr. Justice B.N. Sri Krishna, whom we identify with all the developments that are taking place in this country as far as cyber law is concerned, especially in the arena, in the area, in the realm of data protection. But at the same time, it also gives me goosebumps because I'm standing here to speak on a topic which is not my cup of tea. It's about India's cyber security, the challenges, the options. And I, being a student of law, certainly would be more comfortable in dealing with the issues which are legal and looking at those issues from the point of view of law, from the perspective of law, the jurisprudential analysis and all that. So I may not have that competence and I dare not speak on the tech part as far as India's cyber security is concerned, but nonetheless, I am here to present my views on the topic. So pardon me if I frequently use certain words and terms which are highly technical and are not very familiar to you, though I try to be as simple as possible. I know that many of you, probably all of you, are aware that AIIMS Delhi was in news for all the wrong reasons recently. And it was reported, very widely reported in the media, that several attacks, in fact, certain reports mentioned that hundreds and thousands of attacks, cyber attacks, were made on 5 servers that are being maintained to keep the records of all the patients, probably 5 crore patients who have visited in the past 10 years to the premier medical institution of this country. Not only Indians, but also we know that medical tourism is fast picking up in this country. Patients from abroad, from African countries, even from from the developed countries, they are visiting AIIMS. I got this very fascinating news reported in Hindustan Times only a couple of days back, and let me quote what it reports. For the past 2 days, and that was the most recent past, of course, experts from the CERT India, NIC, and the National Security Council Secretariat, led by National Cyber Security Coordinator, Lieutenant General Retired Rajesh Pant, have been conducting dry runs on the servers of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi, to check the resilience of the system to future attacks after 5 out of 100 physical and virtual servers were corrupted by attacks that some government officials believe originated in China. So when we are going to discuss in this session and also in the upcoming sessions, what are the challenges? Of course, the challenges are that these attacks are from a country which is hostile to India. Most of the cyber attacks that would be reported in the media would be having their origin in countries with which we don't have a cordial relationship. And as Honorable Justice Shri Krishna was pointing out, that even if we have some kind of a legal understanding, mutual understanding with the country of origin of that particular cyber attack, it may take years before the attacker or the motive or the reason or the damage is known. So what are the two approaches as far as cyber security is concerned? There are two principal approaches. There may be many. This is something which I could think of, which I could conceive of. One is preventive. When we talk about tech, it's always preventive. And as I already pointed out, that I am not an expert as far as tech part of cyber security is concerned. And that was the reason why I quoted extensively from the Hindustan Times report, that how the nodal agencies, how the important agencies that are responsible for maintaining the cyber security of the vital installations, including these institutions, they are doing a dry run. What is that dry run for? That dry run is to identify the loopholes. That dry run is to find the gaps as far as security mechanism and apparatus is concerned, so that that could be strengthened. How would that be strengthened? Would be done with the help of the latest technology, the hardware, the software, which, as I already mentioned, I must repeat, is not my cup of tea. Now, take this AIIMS incident as an example. Is that the only one? No, that's not the only one. If you search, you would find innumerable instances of cyber attacks that originated either from Pakistan or from Hong Kong or from North Korea or from China or from some unknown territory that compromised India's cyber security. And when India's cyber security is compromised, of course, that ultimately boils down to compromising the cyber security of each and every individual. Justice Shri Krishna spoke at length about the idea of data privacy, that how vital that data, the whole concept of data privacy is, which is not being understood even by the past that we. But when we talk about India's cyber security, what do we mean by India? Is India a structure of bricks and mortars? No, India is we the people. India resides in us. I am reminded of an argument that was made in a reported Supreme Court decision, in which Pakistani national Ajmal Kasab, very known name, Ajmal Kasab was was sentenced to death. In fact, Supreme Court confirmed the death sentence that was given. One argument that was proffered on behalf of Ajmal Kasab was that the targets that he chose don't represent the sovereignty of India, meaning thereby the sovereignty doesn't reside in the targets that he chose to attack. It means that sovereignty is limited to a certain brick and mortar structure like the Indian Parliament or some other government buildings and all. The Supreme Court has very rightly pointed out that it's something which resides in each one of us. If someone is being targeted only because he happens to be on Indian soil, either an Indian citizen or a foreigner, it's an attack on India's sovereignty. So something that happened with AIIMS, that was followed only a couple of days after AIIMS servers were compromised. Attacks were mounted and directed to the servers of ICMR as well. And you don't know that which vital installation that is representative of India's sovereignty is the next target. So certainly tech would be important, rather the most important, because every effort must be made to prevent such attacks, which may not always be possible despite the best security software and hardware that you might have. These cyber attackers are clever people. They are tech savvy. They are skilled. May I take 2 more minutes, sir, to wind up?
Still have 2 minutes.
So I was talking about the first of these 2 approaches, the preventive one, which is tech and knowledge driven. The other one is redressive. Can we redress the wrong that has been done, which is the job of law, which is the task of law? Here comes the role of law and the agencies, the state agencies, etc. Post-breach legal response driven approach is the other approach as far as cyber security is concerned. Not moving. Yes. Now, again, going back to the recent cyber attacks on the servers maintained by AIIMS, both physical as well as virtual. If you look at the definition of cyber terrorism, which is given in section 66F of the Information Technology Act of 2000 as amended in 2009, you'd find that what happened in the recent past vis-a-vis AIIMS as well as ICMR is nothing but an act of cyber terrorism. In cyber terrorism, it's not essential that massive physical destruction is caused. If you, by your act, compromise computer network systems and thereby you threaten people's life or life of the community, that act would be termed as an act of cyber terrorism, for which punishment is life imprisonment, imprisonment for life. But once these crimes are committed against the state, against an individual, that should be taken to the logical end. And how do you take that to the logical end? That can be only through legal process. And when we talk about the legal process, we talk about many very, very complex rules and laws, both general as well as special. One of such very complex rules are there in the Indian Evidence Act, which would be pressed into action once a person, if at all that person, that individual is caught after having committed a breach of cyber security of an individual or of nation. That is how to make proof of that. And because I have just 2 minutes to wind up. Let me very quickly tell you that the law is so complex and is still in a state of flux. A state of flux in the sense that the law has been there since 2000. The IT Act amended several other traditional legislations, including a law that existed since 1860 or a law that existed since 1872. But a lot of doubt remained, not only in the minds of the lesser mortals like us, like me, but also in the minds of the judges of the Supreme Court. I'm reminded of one important decision, again, a case that is known as a Parliament attack case, where this question came up, that what is the mode of proving an electronic record, and the Supreme Court said that the special rule that the 2000 amendment talks about is not a mandatory provision, and proof may be made by applying the general law, and that remained a legal principle for almost 10 years till it was overturned in another case, that is Anwar PV versus PK Bashir case. Even after that Anwar PV versus PK Bashir case, where the Supreme Court said that unless and until a certain certificate is accompanied with the electronic evidence, which is secondary in nature. I'm sorry, I'm using certain technical words which I can't explain because of paucity of time, but I can't help. So the Supreme Court said that that certificate is mandatory. Now, when you look at the law, which it is inevitable, if you want to take any cyber security breach or any cyber crime to its logical conclusion, you would find that provision, that law itself is very lengthy, very complex, and you feel dejected by looking at its size. But it's very simple. It simply requires that if you have a secondary evidence would be, for example, I received a message in my mobile phone, or I received a screenshot on my WhatsApp, and that screenshot is offensive, and I want to take legal action against the person who sent that message to me. I have two options. One is that I approach the police and I give my device to the police as evidence. That would be produced before the court of law once the proceedings mature or proceedings reach that stage of trial. The other one is that I ask him to take a printout of that, or I ask him that, sir, why don't you give me your number so that I could forward that screenshot to you. Once I forward that screenshot to his mobile, it becomes a secondary evidence. And once it is a secondary evidence, it must be accompanied by a certificate. Who would give that certificate? Would that certificate be given by some government authority? No, that certificate would not be given by some government authority. The certificate would be given by the person in whose possession that communication device was. Your smartphone is a communicating device. It's no less than a computer. So whatever rules apply to computers and laptops, they equally apply to your communicating device as well, including this rule which mandates production of mandatory certificate if secondary electronic evidence is adduced before a court of law. Now, this has caused a lot of problem as far as investigating agencies are concerned, because they often fail to fetch that mandatory certificate. And let me tell you that, like many other laws, this provision, sir, section 65 capital B is also not original. In fact, it has been lifted from other jurisdictions, especially English law. They understood the problems of their own law, and we are still carrying that law, which has created a lot of problem as far as investigating agencies are concerned. Only last month, the Supreme Court again, in fact, the only 3 cases which I talked about, they are all about physical attacks on India's security and sovereignty. There was this Red Fort attack case whose review petition got decided only last month. And in that also, the Supreme Court has reiterated that unless and until secondary evidence of an electronic record is accompanied by a mandatory certificate that has to be produced by person in whose possession that device was, that device was running properly, and there was no interruption, there were no glitches, etc., etc. That secondary evidence would not be considered, even if that is the most vital and the most crucial evidence suggesting guilt or otherwise of that particular accused or that particular person is concerned. So the law, as far as electronic evidence is concerned, can be summed up in 2 sentences. One is that in 99% cases, the evidence available with the court would be secondary in nature. Servers can't be moved from America to India. They are too heavy to be moved. So what you would be doing is that you would be copying the data from that server. Once that data is copied, with whatever accuracy you copy that data, it becomes secondary. And the moment it becomes secondary, Section 65 capital B comes into play, and unless and until it is accompanied by a certificate, that data would not be considered as an evidence by the court of law. The second is that at the time of presentation of that data, the certificate may not be there. The court would still accept that. But the time of its consideration of admissibility, that whether it is admissible or not, it's mandatory that that certificate is available with the court, without which, as I already said, and I end with this, the most vital data, the most vital evidence may not be considered by the Indian courts. That's the latest law on the point. Thank you very much for allowing me more time, sir, and for your patience hearing. Thank you. Thank you.
The next in order of the business is Professor Dr. Ashok Panditrao Vajje from the Maharashtra Law University, Aurangabad, right? National Law University, Aurangabad. He is going to be making a presentation on what is it? I see. Okay. Okay. All right. He's going to be making his presentation on the subject, on the theme of this seminar.
Esteemed Lordship, Honorable Justice Shri V.N. Sri Krishna, former Judge of Supreme Court of India, the respected panel member, respected Dr. Pandey sir from Ram Manohar Lohia National Law University, Honorable Principal of the DAV College, Shri Dr. Arun Kumar Dikshit sir, the respected management of the society, Namaskar to everyone. Today I have been given this task of making a presentation on I have chosen this cybersecurity as a theme only because that's the subject matter of the discussion of the national seminar. So I'll confine myself to the culture of cybersecurity. Well, I called cybersecurity as a culture. It's a culture. And I'll prove it why cybersecurity is a culture. Of course, it's a norm. It's going to be a norm. It is a norm. It should be a norm. And at the same time, it should be a culture. When we talk about culture, we always confine to our language, our food, our religion, sanskars given to us. We confine to that. Cybersecurity has also become one kind of a sanskar, one kind of a culture nowadays. And that's because of the intrusion of electronic devices. And when I'm saying electronic devices, that does not mean desktops and computers and laptops. It does also mean the technological neutral versions, such as the communication devices, if I may call mobile phones, now in the hand of everyone. Not right now, of course. Usually we do use it. So cybersecurity is not for the legislature. It's not for the business enterprises. It's for you. It's for common persons like you and me, because we are interacting completely. We are resorting to the outer world through virtual manner. In fact, I'm very glad today that in person I'm present here, and for that I would like to thank Honorable Principal Sir for giving me this opportunity to interact with all of you in person, not virtually. So virtual barrier is no more. So let us talk about the virtual barrier. So when I'm saying cybersecurity is a culture, how it is a culture, why it has become a culture. When I'm saying culture, we have to adopt in our daily lives. We have to adopt it as a behavioral norm for all of us. Let's take, for example, I'm interacting with somebody. Make sure the person is going to take screenshots of that communication. Remember, the person is going to save the data which you are communicating. Remember, the person is not next to you. The person is far away from you. So the data may be recorded, data may be saved. Your message will be kept as a memory. And when appropriate time comes, it may be misused. This is individual. Business enterprises, what they are doing the same thing. They are giving you services. You are allured by services. You are availing services. For example, you are going to trip. When you plan a particular trip, number of intermediaries are involved. Travel agent is involved. Your search engine is involved. Your browser is involved. Your operation system of the computer is involved. That website operator is involved. Data processor we call technically. All these people are there to know who you are. They ask you certain details, certain information. They will record and they will save. We only know that they ask information. So, we have a zeal of going to tourism for tourism purposes. So we are in the mood of, visiting places. We don't know these corporates. They are not just asking for one time, like one-time password. They are asking it forever. So they will record on their server. There is a team working for them. They will, after recording, after collecting, after that, they will reuse it. So your transaction is over. Your tour is over. You have come back to your house. You have joined your respective profession, but your data is with them. So what they do, they sell the data. Esteemed Lordship was saying in the early morning, it's not a material possession, but now it has a value. Although it's not a material possession, it cannot be transferred. It has a value. Data has become a modern notion of property. So that's the significance of it. So data is a commodity. Today, information which we communicate, we send, we transmit through mobile phone and through laptops and computers, it is a commodity. For example, shoe shop if you go to, at the bill counter, they ask you, what is your mobile number? Why they ask you for mobile number? I ask of course, I'm a teacher of cyber law, so I do ask. Why you're asking for mobile number? Sir, next time if there's a problem with the product, we can call you back. No, gentleman, gentle person, that's not the reason. You are recording, you are maintaining a database, and you are selling that data, personal, my name, my mobile number, to corporates. It's a great network that corporates are working, and they are materializing it. So there is a business. So it has become a business. Data has become a business. So these are, nitty-gritties, commercial nitty-gritties are involved in case of data, in case of information that we share. So make sure with whom you are communicating. Make sure for what purpose you are communicating. Purpose of communication, purpose of giving data. Even bill speaks of the purpose for which you are collecting data. A bank is collecting data, but for what purpose? For maintaining bank account? For a particular transaction? For a particular transmission of money? Loan. When you take a loan, banker comes to you with list of documents. We don't bother. We want loan. We want our house to be constructed. We want our flat. Have you ever bothered what they will do with these so many documents? Right from our childhood to till present, they ask everything about you. Income tax return, when you are filing RTR, the CS, they ask for some documents. List of documents, you give it to them. At one point of time, you are sharing your masked Aadhaar copy, but at the photocopy center, your Aadhaar card is just lying in the dustbin. What is this hypocrisy? We are masking our Aadhaar, we are hiding our masking, this is hiding Aadhaar number at some places, but at some places our Aadhaar card photocopy is in the dustbin. What is this irony? We are trying to secure at some places, but at some places we are throwing in the dustbin. Do you know what will happen to that Aadhaar card? It may be forged, it may be sold, it may be used for the purpose of getting SIM card, and you are aware of implications of having is given to staff members. SIM card is on my name being registered. It is on the head name of the head of the administrative head of the institution. What they are doing with those SIM card? It is registered on my name. Critical internet infrastructure, that means their web portals, their website, their server. Defense is using ICT, ISRO is using ICT, DRDO, Defense Research Wing, they are using ICT, communication technologies. And when it comes to defense, the early morning I was discussing with Honorable Lordship. For defense, rules are classified differently. All service rules you take, even codes are different so far as defense is concerned. Data protection, same rules are being applied. That we have to introspect. Defense is very crucial data. National security, national sovereignty is involved. The organizations like ISRO, their data is at stake. Their information is at stake. They're working, employees who are working there is an agreement between employees of ISRO and the ISRO organization that you will not leak the information outside. You will not compromise the information outside. It happens in software companies. Employees, they work. And when they leave the institution, in pen drive, they copy the data and they sell it to the company where they are joining. So what about trade secret of that company? What about confidential information of that company? What will happen? Such agreements are being entered into, but they are being breached. So what cyber security you are using in your organization, whether it's a government organization or whether it's a private organization? Anyway, I'll now come back to the point of the core discussion of my presentation. Perspectives. Cyber security, some of you are legal fraternity, some of you are from non-law background. So I'll use simple words so as to make it purposeful. Different perspectives, cyber security could be discussed. The first perspective is artificial intelligence and information and communication technologies. A software engineer, a computer operator will see cyber security in terms of technical aspects. Like for example, what is cyber security? Firewalls, antivirus. Just two simple examples from the point of view of ICT. A computer operator, network administrator knows firewalls as a cyber security, antivirus to secure our device. Their understanding is only confined to firewalls and antivirus, and otherwise, so many security measures are there. How a lawyer thinks about cyber security? Lawyer always thinks from the point of view of a norm. Whether cyber security is a law today, whether cyber security is a norm today, that we have to introspect, that we have to check whether it's a law or not. If it is law, to whom it is applicable? Citizens, government, business houses, to everyone. Unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, I'll make analysis of it. In the data protection bill, the personal and domestic use of computer or mobile phone is excluded. And most breaches are happening in personal use. When we are using, we should be compelled. We should be compelled. It's a personal hygiene. Cyber security is nothing but a personal hygiene. So when we are using laptop, we should be told by law agencies, your laptop, make sure it is updated or not. When I'm using my mobile phone, whether my operating system is updated or not, I should be compelled. Otherwise, I'll be at loss. I'll be at risk. If I roam outside at midnight, 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the night, what is the guarantee of my safety? Police machinery is there to secure myself. Yesterday night, I was just having a walk. Very secluded area, the court road. What is the guarantee of my safety? Police agencies are there. Patrolling vehicles are there. So when I am doing online transaction, what is the guarantee of my security? There is no law compelling me that I should use cyber hygiene when I'm interacting online. But the bill excludes that this bill is not applicable to personal use, domestic use. It is applicable only to the business enterprises to which we call data fiduciary. For example, banks and financial institutions. What about personal use? It's a hazardous thing that we are using. Mobile phone, desktops, laptops, they are hazardous things. I remember the case law, Randall versus Fletcher and law of torts with which you're not familiar with. If you keep any hazardous thing with you, if it leaks outside, damages somebody, you'll be held accountable for that. Your mobile phone is a hazardous thing. It all depends on use, but then that is excluded. Okay, perspective. ICT, from the point of view of software engineers, cybersecurity could be seen. Human rights. Now we have come to the discussion of human rights. What is the connection between cybersecurity and human rights? Today is, I think, most probably International Human Rights Day, I believe, 10th December. Right to privacy, Puttaswamy judgment. There is a judgment in 2017. 50 सालों में पहली बार किसी ने बोला है right to privacy is a fundamental right. 50 नहीं, more than 60 years. जब से Indian Constitution we have adopted, it was not declared as a fundamental right. जब आधार आ गया, तब declare हुआ right to privacy. So many generations they have lost right to privacy as their natural right. Today it has come. Right to privacy with respect to online, and the credit goes to the digital platforms. It is only because of online platforms, digital platforms, right to privacy today has been classified as fundamental right. अगर ये सब ICT वगैरह सब कुछ होता नहीं, तो maybe they may not declare right to privacy as a fundamental right. They might not have declared, but credit goes to the ICT that we are using, freedom of expression, matter of business as a fundamental right by using ICT. So Supreme Court, the apex court of this country has declared right to privacy, including online privacy, is a fundamental right. So human rights is also one of the perspective. Then legal perspective, cyber security is becoming a norm. Data protection law speaks of cyber security. Why cyber security is being considered as a norm? Okay, I'll just take 1 minute to discuss cyber law. What exactly cyber law is all about from the all point of view. Cyber law has restored a culture of e-commerce, electronic commerce. For example, the online shopping that you did, that you always do, that is called e-commerce. Number one. Number two, to curb cyber crimes, cyber law is in place. Number three, to protect your data, cyber law is there. But let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that cyber law has Information Technology Act 2000. It's a cyber law of India. It has failed. I have so many examples why it has failed. जब 2000 में ये कायदा आया था, इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी एक्ट, आज 2022 है. There are so many ups and downs in this act. What this ups and downs shows? Failure of law. जब law fail होता है, तब क्या होता है? Tyranny, law and order situation. But यहाँ पर cyber security आया है. Cyber security is a means of avoiding cyber crimes. I repeat that statement again. Cyber security is a means to combat cyber crimes. So when your law and enforcement agency is failed, use cyber security. When you receive email that congratulations, आपको 2 करोड़ मिल गए, who will give you free of cost 2 crore rupees? Congratulations, आपका loan approve हो गया. अरे document नहीं दिया तो loan कैसे approve होगा? These are called phishing mails. Don't respond. Don't open the attachment. Those attachments are dangerous things. If you open malware, think like a malware. You know, it's like a virus will be there in your phone. And remote access will be taken by some XYZ persons. Organized crimes, white collar crimes, criminals, they are there. So when law fails, cyber security comes. So what I am of the opinion, cyber security is not just a culture. It is a norm today. Information Technology Act, there is a provision. All these business enterprises, you are collecting our data in huge quantity. Forever you are using it. For multiple purposes you are using it. We don't know. Our transaction is over, we are free, we are happy, we are content. but that data is being used. So there's a law in Information Technology Act, there is a provision, but however, this data protection law bill, which is coming up now, that will ensure cyber security culture. That will restore cyber security culture. Today, as on date, companies are held responsible for any breach of data of yours, any banking institution. If a banking institution, example I'm giving, if they fail to keep your data secret and personal, then you can seek compensation from the bank under one Information Technology Act. So what is that? Cyber security. So what law says today? That these companies who are collecting your data, they should have cyber security. I repeat, these companies, business enterprises who are collecting your data, what law says? You should have reasonable cyber security practices. How many of you are aware of that? Can you ask to bank that do you have a cyber security practice in your, what cyber security you have? How I am guaranteed that my data will be secured? That we never ask. We are concerned with the transaction. The banks are supposed to, data collectors are supposed to have reasonable cyber security practices. This is law. So cyber security is just not a culture. It is law also. This is legal perspective. Then defense perspective I have already spoken about. Then corporate perspective. These corporates, they deal with huge data. Google, take for example, AIMS sir has given an example of data is leaked. AIMS is a part of government, it's not a corporate. Now, how government is to be held responsible today? AIMS, being government institution, right to privacy is a fundamental right. You can file writ petition. You can make government held responsible for the act of leakage of your personal data. Your sexual orientation, your age, your illness, your disease, everything is out. Then insurance companies will come to your doorstep. Health companies, mediclaim companies, banking companies, term life insurance, all these companies will come to your doorstep. How they are aware that you are suffered from this kind of illness? AIMS, data leakage. So these corporates are under legal obligation to have reasonable cyber security practices. So legal perspective I told about, human rights perspective, IT perspective. So there are so many perspectives to look at cyber security as a culture. Now, who are the stakeholders? Citizens are stakeholders of cyber security culture. We should be compelled by law to use cyber security. Otherwise, our loss, our data, our property, our persona will be at loss. Corporates, they should use cyber security in their enterprises as a norm. It's a norm today. If norm is not followed, compensation. You have to pay huge compensation. Crores rupees you can ask from the financial institutions and government. Government is also one of the stakeholders of cyber security. Threats. Personal information is at threat. Corporates and their server, their data, it's not their data, your data is at stake. Then critical information infrastructure of the government is also at stake. So it is always advisable to have a reasonable cyber security. Unfortunately, governmental machinery is not within the purview of cyber security culture. Very unfortunately, I'm saying this. Even the old law, as it exists today, government is not one of the body corporates to which this cyber security law is applicable. Only business enterprises, technically called body corporates. Then challenges. Artificial intelligence. We are receiving artificial intelligence as a friend. It's a frank foe, I would say. It's not a friend. It's a foe, FOE. It's an enemy, artificial intelligence. Because you have restored intelligence in the machine. When you give intelligence in the machine will not react with emotions. Machine will react as per the limited understanding and the programming. Now, instances are there that due to paucity of time, just a few things I would like to tell. We are now welcoming 5G. We are entering into the era of 5G. Even for 5G, phishing calls are being made. Phishing SMSs are being sent that we will upgrade your, even I received this kind of SMS, that we will upgrade your 4G to 5G. That is also one of the fraud that is being happening. AIMS, that sir has rightly pointed out. There's also an instance of what is called otherwise by people love jihad. There's an instance that I personally witnessed last week of how the college going students, sir, I'll just give you 1 minute to finish. This is very significant thing. college going students being negligent when it comes to mobile phones. They have mobile phones, they are interacting in hostel, video call, in hostel to a stranger remotely and taking stock of entire hostel premises and sharing of data with the stranger. One of the girl fall prey to this, what is being called otherwise by people, I'm not calling it, otherwise it is being called love jihad. The conversion is taking place for not ensuring cyber security. And 5 to 6 girls have been asked to join the league because they shared all details, hostel rooms, video call. Which kind of prudent person will interact when you are in a hostel, that is girls hostel, you're using 4G mobile phone, WhatsApp video call, who will interact with the stranger? You tell me. These are young majors. I'm not talking about minors, I'm talking about majors. So they should be cultured. It is our duty to culture them about the cyber security. Minors issue is very, Lordship has focused on this. Protection of data bill, PDP. This bill has talked about minors' interests, children's interests when it comes to use of ICT, use of mobile phones. Every time companies are dealing with children, every time I'm saying, that means processing of data. Every time data processing is happening, your parent must accompany with you. But is it practicable? Take for example Instagram. जब लॉकडाउन डिक्लेयर हुआ था 2020 में, every time I give you example, last example I'll stop here. 2020 जब लॉकडाउन डिक्लेयर हुआ था, they were confined to home confinement due to lockdown. These girls and boys from Delhi school, they opened one Instagram account. I think this example I always give because it's very shocking incident that has happened. They opened one group on Instagram. Instagram is one application to share photos and videos. They opened account. These boys and girls, minors, all minors, they are sharing objectionable pictures. They are talking in a filthy manner. They are abusing, and I'm sorry, I'm using these words because it actually happened. All of us, are here as parents, so it should open this incident should open your eyes. These kids are discussing how to commit rape, the different procedure of modalities. And who are discussing? One minor is discussing with another minor. These minors are interacting. यही interaction अगर घर में होता, स्कूल में होता possible है? Very difficult. घर में ऐसे incidents, this kind of discussion will not happen. This kind of discussion in public forum will not happen. This kind of discussion will happen only in virtual forum. Understand the risk of virtual forums. These kids, they discussed gang rape, they discussed rape, abusing language. जितने गंदी गालियां थी उस ग्रुप में पोस्ट कर दिया about each other. Some of the vigilant minors, they released pictures, screenshot of that group. Delhi Commission of Women, they came to know about this incident because they had to protect girls first. I don't know why girls first. Delhi Commission for Women took cognizance of this and asked Superintendent of Police to ask Instagram, that application, to immediately take down that group. ऐसे लाखों groups है, किसको आप बंद करोगे? That's the danger. So cyber security must be one of the sanskars that we give to our children in the early life. That we should tell them, okay, you use mobile phones, use it, but these are safety standards. Always put off your camera. Always put off your Wi-Fi when not in use. Don't interact with strangers. Limited use only. But खाना खाने के वक्त ही use करना है, बाकी बात use नहीं करना है. These things we should culture. That's cyber security. So I'll conclude here. I'm sorry, Honorable Lordship, I have taken a lot of time. Cyber security is a culture. Cyber security is a norm, in bracket law. Cyber security is obligation. And cyber security is one of the good etiquettes because we have to welcome ICT. We can't run away from ICT. We have to welcome it. Welcome with caution. Thank you everyone for giving for this patient hearing. Once again, I would like to thank Honorable Principal Sir for giving me this opportunity to speak in person. Thank you once again. Thank you, Lordship.
Thank you, Dr. Vajay. We now have on the agenda 3 paper presenters who will be given 5 minutes each to just highlight what they have presented in the paper. The three presenters in this sequence are Avinash Pandey. Please come forward. I take it that you're one of the persons whose paper is present in this publication that was released. Please come. Just give us a taste of what you have said in the paper. We will read the paper, of course. You have 5 minutes in which you have to make sure that your point is put across. This is like, in the Supreme Court, I used
And as we see that the national workshops on cyber security, wargaming, and introductory sessions to cyber security threats will facilitate spreading cyber security awareness among citizens of this nation. The world needs India, a strong digital India. With this, I would like to conclude my paper and my analysis, and I would like to thank all the honorable guests, Dias, Principal Sir, and the entire authority of DAV management for giving me this opportunity. पिछली बार की तरह अच्छा नहीं हो पाया, but I think that this has been a golden opportunity to present what we look or what we present over here. Thank you.
I'm told that the second paper presenter is absent, which enabled the first one to exceed his quota of 7 minutes, 2 minutes. Now the third one is Dr. Arvind Kumar Kushwaha, who is supposed to do it on online mode. Achha, sorry, the second one is available. Who is available and who is not? Online wala hai ki physical wala hai? Kaun hai? Who is? Shravan Kumar is available?
Yes, sir.
Not available. Arvind Kumar is available? Online. Achha, so he's going to do it online. Where is he? Dr. Arvind Kumar, are you able to hear us? Hello? Unmute yourself, please. We can't hear your response. वो लाल दिख रहा है उसको निकाल डालिए. हो गया अभी. बोलिए. But still it's unmuted. Something more than that. Unless we hear you, you will not be able to present your paper. नहीं सुनाई नहीं दे रहा. उसको सुना दे रहा होगा. हाथ से इशारे करने की क्या बात है? Are you able to hear us? Nod your head. Can you hear me? Please nod your head if you want to say yes. We are not able to hear you. संस्कृत में कहावत है श्रुतगानम मधुरम अश्रुतगानम. So it doesn't apply to papers. कैसे पेपर कैसे प्रेजेंट हो जाएगा भाई ऑनलाइन? So what do we do now? Fix it all. Is there a good fixer? All right. Please log out and log in. And pray to Lord Hanuman also. Hanuman Chalisa है क्या आपके पास? महाभारत प्रवचन करने के पहले हम एक श्लोक कहते हैं. Whichever way, we don't want to hear it all. Whichever way you want to do it. इसलिए महाभारत के प्रेजेंटेशन के पहले हम नारायणम ततो जय मुदीरयेत, ये सब करके नारायण को सरस्वती देव को प्रणाम करके बाद में शुरू करते हैं. तो महाभारत की कथा. So I think he forgot that.
आपकी वॉइस नहीं आ रही है. आप फोन से बोले तो क्या मैं जोड़ के हेलो हेलो मेरी आवाज भी तो नहीं आ रही है. हेलो ऐसा करो उनको हटा दो, कैमरे वाले को हटा दो. हेलो
मेरी आवाज आ रही है? वॉइस हेलो, देखो मेरी आवाज आ रही है। हेलो,
आपकी आ रही है। हाँ, वेरी गुड।
अच्छा अशोक कुमार जी, आपको 7 मिनट दिया गया है। प्रेजेंट हाईलाइट द पेपर so that we can understand what exactly is the point that you are making in the paper. Please go ahead now.
And the honorable speakers, Dr. K. Pandey and Dr. Ashok Pandit. Sir, I am going to present my paper on the cyber security common threat for all. Then cyber security means is the security to protect of internet contents such as the hardware, software, and data from the cyber threats. So in the we can say that all the work they are done in our computer or the smartphones. They all battery come in the field of the cyber security. If all these our set work is not done by the legal process, in the means of the under the illegal manner, they directly or indirectly comes under the cyber security. Well, when we talk about the element of the cyber security, so we can say there are the several elements of the national security, cyber security. That is the first one is application security. Second one is network security, and the social security, and the last one is the disaster recovery. So this is the some measures and the top elements of the cyber security. So we can already say that is not a full and the total elements of the cyber security. There are few or the some elements we have taken in some articles and some books. So within 5 minutes, it is not possible we can take all the elements. So we are going on the next phenomena paper. That is a type of the cyber attacks. The type, when we talk about the type of a cyber attack, we find there is some type of the cyber attacks. First one is the malware. Second one is ransomware, and third one social baiting, and fourth one is phishing. So it is as I earlier told all of you, sir, it is not entire holistic threats of the cyber attack. There are few of the some attacks who are the very familiar our surrounding and which are happening our surroundings. When we talk about the security measures of these threats, that is we should take some awareness steps, and we should also take some performing audits and the promotion of the e-education and the others use that our previous speaker said we should not throw our Xerox copy of the Aadhaar, and we should not share our the phone numbers, email ID, the unknown person. So these types of the activities directly comes under the other measures of the cyber security. So respected all officers and the audience, I would like to say that cyber security is not a very sophisticated or rocket science phenomena. It is a very common and clear phenomena which are happening around surrounding us. We should take very few measures for tackling it, because it is the time of the information age. If any one country has more data and more security, then we can say they are very able to take care to grip all the situations in his favor. So data on the security may be the regional fields, it may be the individual, it may be international fields. All the collections of the data are very important for our individual growth and for our national state. So in our conclusion, we have to say that we have to strengthen our support systems even more. That's because today is on the age is the information, and it has become more necessary that we strengthen our information security more, and that we can in this way we can avoid all the types of the cyber attack. That my conclusion is that give the only one concentration that we would always aware while using the types of the mobile, while using type of this mails and so many. If we are aware, then we will able to tackle all types of the cyber threats which will come in the present time or in our near future. Thank you, sir, for giving this glorious opportunity to present.
Thank you, Dr. Ashok Kumar, no? Arvind Kumar ji, thank you very much. Now, 2 minutes or 3 minutes devoted to questions from the audience. Anybody wants to ask any questions? Anyone? Is cyber security such a terrorizing subject that nobody wants to be? Very well. If no questions are asked, there are only two conclusions possible. Either everything is understood or nothing is understood. I will assume that the first is the correct proposition and everything has been understood. Now, before I conclude, I have a very interesting observation to make. And this has nothing to do with cyber security. One person was a devotee, went to Kabir and said, "Saab, dekhiye Guruji, so ध्यान करने बैठते हैं, कोई बाल निकाल के जाते हैं, क्या करना चाहिए?" Kabir gave him a beautiful answer. He said, "बाल बढ़ाओ या घोट घुटाओ, लेकिन हरि नाम रटाओ." Similarly, हम security कैसे करते हैं पता नहीं, लेकिन security करो तो cyber cleanser immediately put down. So it may be by computerization methodology, by methodology of hashes and methodology of crypto analysis. किसी भी तरह से आप किसी भी तरीका आप अपनाओ, लेकिन basically ensure that the data is secure in your hands, in the hands of the company, in the hands of the government, and in the hands of the nation. Thank you very much for this exciting presentation here. Now, with this, yes, ma'am, you want a question? Yes, yes. Why were you so hesitant? Sorry? You want mic. But if you have put up your hand, I would have come and given you mic.
So my question is, how do we protect ourselves against massive data collection done by the state itself? And we lack a data protection framework as of now. So how do citizens address this issue?
That is the very necessity for which the Supreme Court asked the first question and said, where is the law on this subject? And that led to my having to spend 18 months of my life on a subject with which I was thoroughly unfamiliar. And even today, I'm very unfamiliar sitting in this August assembly. As you're absolutely right. If this is the fundamental right of a citizen or a non-citizen, a resident of this country, how is it going to be protected is an issue that has to be raised to the fore. And this abridgment of the fundamental right can arise two ways, either in the hands of private individuals, in which case you can file a suit, and if it is in the hands of a government agency or a state agency, you can file a writ petition either under 226, Article 226 or Article 32. But that is a cumbersome procedure. Everybody cannot file a PIL and run. Therefore, there should be a methodology which should be that there should be some regulator who will take care of it. A regulator will give you whatever relief he can at his stage. And if he cannot, by an appellate process, you can go to an appeal authority or finally land up in the Supreme Court itself. And on the ground that this is my fundamental right which is being breached. And for breach of fundamental right, the remedies should be instantaneous and also very heavy. Compensation should be very heavy. Now,
Thank you very much, sir. Hello. So, the technical seminar is over now, and we shall disperse for lunch break, which has been set up in the DB lounge right now. I am correct this time, eh? So we all shall proceed. Yes, sir. Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you very much.